The COVID-19 pandemic has had a detrimental impact on the economy of St. Kitts and Nevis, as it has for all countries of the world. On the plus side, the Federation recorded very low numbers of infected persons, all travel-related, and all have recovered without hospitalization. But the closure of borders, along with the collapse of the global travel and tourism industry, was grinding away at the vibrant industry that was the economic lifeline of the country. The pandemic left many unemployed. Business entities have been struggling to stay afloat. Many are trying to be innovative, with a heavy dependence on the local consumer market. But for some businesses, the local market is not large enough to sustain operations, and the quick return of cruise tourism is most wanted. The reopening of the country's borders is welcomed by most and will allow the expected return of the tourists to the country. It is well understood that the pre-COVID-19 business environment will not return anytime soon. The reopening of the country's borders is most welcomed, and residents hope that the precautions taken by the authorities will keep St. Kitts and Nevis from going into community transmission. Meanwhile, the country's main business organization, the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, has been reaching out to the business community with the central advice to keep practicing the protocols. It is hoped that the advocacy role will help business operators stay the course. SKN Newsline spoke with Giselle Matthews, president of the St. Kitts and Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce, who had a message for all business operators and residents.
Be reminded, be guided, because there is a level of complacency taking place, which is human, of course, because I think many of us feel there's limited exposure. Well, there might be. We have to remember and be guided and be reminded that COVID is around and it will be around for a very long time to come. So we're going to have to learn to live with it. And to do that, we have to remember to do all the things, wearing masks, social distancing, sanitization. And those protocols have to be enforced. And so the Chamber is taking on a role of a public awareness campaign to remind businesses, please enforce these and continue to do so. It's for the good of yourself, your associates, your clients, into your business, whether you're a restaurant or a retail.
But reopening borders bring a greater responsibility to adhere to the protocols established by the COVID-19 task force for safe business operations, for the training that is required, and in some instances to acquire the seal of approval issued by the Tourism Authority. These requirements are expected to help reduce the risk of transmission once the rules are followed.
The task force job is to regulate and to really enforce those businesses who are not complying, and our job really, our role that we feel is our responsibility as the business entity for this sector. And it's not about membership any longer. It's all about a broad approach to our businesses, trying to guide and help them as best as we can as a chamber.
According to the CIC president, at the heart of achieving economic recovery is the role that resident consumers must play in purchasing local products and produce as much as possible.
The local consumer is a huge part of how we recover. So much so that the Chamber has embarked on a buy local campaign, a radio advert that is recently started running this week, encouraging the consumer to think local first. And when I say that, we mean not just your local produce, because I'm hoping that most people are buying the local produce. I think we're seeing a lot of that. I think we're seeing that the vendors are doing quite well, that people are more cognizant about their health. They're listening to the CMO and advice about eating healthy, more fruits and vegetables, and walking, exercising. I think we're seeing a lot of that, which is really a good thing that has come out of COVID. So apart from that, local fish, getting your fish from your local fisherman, going to the fisheries, supporting your local store owners who do anything from, if you're home decorating or you're doing something in your home, we know that Amazon is a click away, but let's face it, do your multiplication factor of 5, which is about what you need to use to get a landed cost. And see when you go locally to find the item, if you can even get something close here. Always be willing to face the fact you're going to pay more. Geographically, you're not in the US. And just from a business standpoint, you can't compete with a giant like them. So you are going to be more expensive, but not all the time. There are many times when you go around and you do some sort of research and you check pricing, you're surprised to see the type of pricing that you can get locally. Because I think the consumer is unaware that most of these businesses are buying direct from the actual manufacturer, right? Or from a dealer. So they're getting export pricing. So they're getting pretty competitive pricing. So they can be more competitive than they're thinking. And I think it's the younger generation that we're trying to appeal to teach them, that, we know it's a click away, but you need to really do your multiplication, and you need to work it, and you need to buy local, because if you buy local, you keep the money in your local economy, the money circulates in that economy, the money is used for charitable purposes, the money is used for sporting events, to sponsor local community activities that are taking place. It's used to create employment, it's used to pay the government taxes, which the government needs to be able to have good roads and all infrastructure and all the items that we like to have. So hoping that we can help to change the mindset a bit. And also I think COVID has made people realize that maybe a lot of the things that we're buying are not necessarily things that we need. They're more things that we want. Mm-hmm. So I think just kind of retracting a bit and taking a hard look at ourselves. We need each other to survive through this. We don't have tourism. We're not going to have it for a while. Let's face facts. Mm-hmm. So we can do it together. We did it before. We were so predominantly, into the tourism market. And while we may not have had the lifestyle that we have today, but we did survive. So we have to hunker down and we have to support one another.
Just how robust the business activity will be is left to be seen, but it is certain that business operators are concerned about the business environment and what it really means for their long-term survival. Join me in the next episode of SKN Business in the COVID-19 era when we speak to business people to get a feel for their experiences. Glenn Barth, SKN Newsline.